Alright, what is up? Welcome back to another video. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning, do a little bit of chatting, maybe get to a little bit of repairing. I got a bunch of work to do, but I have topics. I have a rough script of something, so I'm going to share my thoughts on that. The idea for this video, as you've read by the title, is the top 10 cameras that I regret buying. I've not done a list video before because I've not done one before. They require a little bit of planning and a little bit of scripting, which are two things that I am purportedly just ill-equipped to do, but I'm going to try to turn that around today. So yeah, basically this needs to be taken with a massive chunk of salt, and that the cameras that I typically find myself purchasing hopefully would not be something that you at home watching would purchase, because I like to buy garbage. I don't know why I do that to myself, because the returns are usually quite not worth it, but that's just kind of my cup of tea, is just buying garbage and then spending way too much time and money trying to fix said garbage. So my answers, outside of a couple, are probably going to be a lot more different than others would be, and I don't think people have found themselves in the positions that I almost consistently put myself in, because I'm special. That being said, I still think that you might be able to pick up a thing or two from these videos, hopefully, and if not, I'm more than happy to just waste your time with the soothing sounds of my voice. Anywho, here we go, let's jump into it. So I have a rough list. We'll start from the top, which would be number 10 in terms of what I regret the most, or the least I should say, out of the list of 10, and that would just be point and shoots. I have a big old box full of point and shoot carcasses, cameras that will probably never work again, that I'm kind of holding on to because I think they'll be good for parts at some point or another, and you know, mild hoarding habits, but I don't know, I think worth holding on to. Just spent a lot of money on them and it's just kind of stupid, literally a waste of money. Except I did get the Canonet A4 with that batch, and that is one of my favorite cameras, even though it is now dead, which makes me sad, but not a regret overall. So that's kind of why it's number 10. It's a mild regret, mostly just because it's just a lot of garbage, but hopefully they'll be reused in the future, and that will justify that decision and also save them from ending up in a landfill. So that's cool too. Number 9 would be this is the QL19 that I got, and I made a video on it. It's the most disgusting camera. I tried to do a little bit of repainting on it because it was so gross. And as you can see, that turned out really well. I have a roll of film in here, and I'm just so uninspired to shoot this camera at all times because I think it's an atrocity. Waste of money, waste of time. I don't have any other QL19s, so like the parts are pretty much unusable, and it's not a very popular camera, so like can't really sell it, and also it's in terrible condition, so couldn't really sell it anyways. So there's that. It still works fine as a camera, but it was gross. And then on number 8, got the Keystone A7, and that is a 16mm camera that I got years and years and years ago, before I got my Scoopik, because I was like, well, I really want a 16mm camera, so I got that, and thinking that that was going to be the best option for me at the time. And now I still have it because I feel like I can use it for like a backup B cam for 16mm. It's basically just like a box with a lens attached to it. I feel like you can mount it on a car or something, and if it falls off and breaks, like it was like $30 I think when I got it, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. Just kind of a waste of money, waste of time, and with 16mm being as expensive as it is, it's not really worth trying to shoot it through a subpar system. Number 7 is the Pentax MZ-60 or whatever the hell it was. I just made a video on it. Letdown, disappointment, stupid camera, but one worth talking about regardless. So I mean, I've already mentioned it, like the reasons why. What do we focus on here, bud? Sorry, my focus just went weird. Just kind of talked about it, so I'm not gonna revisit it too much, but yeah, that's the camera. Number 6 is the Kiev 88, which is the Russian version of a Hasselblad 500 CM, whatever. And the one I got is disgusting, and it was disgusting when I got it. I got it for a very low price. So I was like, oh, this will be great. And then it was not, because it is in just the worst condition ever, and now it resides in a box in my nightmare closet, never to see the light of day again. In fact, I opened it up the other day because I was like, oh, what's in this? And I had to sit in the dark for the next like 3 hours and contemplate my existence. So that was kind of a mistake and a regret, but I own it, so I guess that's something that's cool. Number 5 would be a Nikon F1, which I got in kind of a similar condition to the Kiev, thinking, oh, this will be great. It had a 50-1.4 lens, but the lens was quite literally, it looked like it was the last of the coral reef. Like, that's how crustaceous it looked. Like, it looked like somebody's like, oh, a Nikon. This is the same company that made those diving cameras. This is a diving camera, and then proceeded to take it diving for like 20 years. Like, they used it as principal photography for Waterworld and then left it there, kind of thing. And then it ended up in my house, and I'm like, oh, this is horrific. So that also is in the nightmare closet, and continues to serve as a reminder that yes, you can buy a Nikon F1 for $30, but should you? No, you should not. So, on to a mildly brighter note, brighter visually, and brighter as this camera actually functions, or functioned, I should say, I no longer own it, is the Lomography Oktomat. This is the camera with 8 lenses. Put a picture of it here. I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. Every time I advanced it, I thought I was breaking it. The picture quality was so bad. 35mm frame doesn't have a whole lot of detail, just generally speaking, especially in comparison to like medium format or large format images. But then when you take a 35mm frame and break it into 8 separate images, it becomes even worse. So that was the idea, and when it's all shot through a $30 plastic camera body, one is not really filled with confidence that you're achieving the highest marks of photographic excellence. And then I tried to sell it and made like, they were going for, because Lomography no longer makes them, the price like skyrocketed. I ended up selling mine for like nothing, basically. So I guess good on me for not being a complete dirtbag, but also would have been cool to at least make a decent amount of money off the camera, but it couldn't even grant me that. Number 3 would be the Pentax 645. Now there's a special asterisk on this, as this is one of the situations in which, due to my stupidity, this is what got me into the situation. Pentax 645 is a great camera when they're working. The 2 I got do not work. In fact, they do the opposite of work. They're quite broken. I got one thinking like, oh, this should be relatively easy to fix. And that is the verbiage that will be put over my grave. Should be easy to fix. And then the second one I got, because, well, you know, gotta have a parts camera to fix this other really easy one, and they both ended up being bad, just categorically bad, and again exist in the nightmare box. I believe I might have recorded videos on them, have not talked about them in length, but it's not one of my finer moments. Maybe I'll make a separate video in the future, but I probably won't because it's just kind of a waste of time. And that leads us to number 2 on the list of regrets, which would be the FM Nightmare Box. And this one grinds my gears. I might have made a video about this, and if I did, I'll put the link to it there. But this was a few years back. I was perusing eBay, and I found this like killer deal. It was all of these Nikon FM bodies for like $50 or something. So I was like, yeah. So I got it. I paid for it. I paid for the shipping, which was like $20. So $70. Cool. And then it just never showed up. And a month went by, hadn't shown up. I'm talking to the eBay seller. He's like, I don't know where it's at, man. I'm like, all right, cool, because like it should be here, but it's not. He's like, yeah, man, I don't know. Well, I'm like, okay, cool, we're on the same team here. Lo and behold, we weren't. 2 or 3 months go by. I request a refund like a while ago. He never gives it to me, so I'm like, okay, sick. And he's like, yeah. And then he falls off the face of the planet. So I'm like trying to talk to eBay and they can't figure anything out. So I'm just like, all right, cool, I'm out $70. And now all of these great part cameras are just missing in action. So I go to the post office one day to deliver something. And they're like, oh, hey, you have this thing. You've got this package here. I'm like, okay, like, all right. And it turns out that they had shipped it to me, but they ended up not having enough money for the postage because the dude got the wrong postage. And then I had to pay extra to like release the package or whatever. Because the money I'd paid for the postage, he had not used or something like that. Regardless, I got really screwed over and that pissed me off. And then I got home and I opened up the package and that really pissed me off because there weren't parts. Like it was like a Ziploc bag full of different things, not organized. All of the camera bodies were like ripped in half. Instead of like unsoldering wires, they were cut. And it was just like, okay, great, thank you for this absolute fucking mess. I suppose I could probably like spend some time and get a couple FMs out of it, but the other thing is there's like 1 or 2 prisms in there, and I believe there's only 1 shutter that was working, so probably not. Waste of time, waste of money. I am not happy about it. And to this day, it fills me with ire. Just rage that happened. But I digress because, and then the other thing too is because it took so long for me to get the package, I was no longer able to like request a refund or do any of that sort of stuff because eBay was like, oh, I'm sorry, your window has passed. I'm like, okay, cool, got it. But like, anyway, it's fine. Life goes on. It adds to my nightmare pile. The last thing that I am regretting that I bought was the very recent entry of cameras, the Contax S2, which this one hits hard, hits home because I was like, I don't get excited about much anymore these days. Like it takes a lot. I have like thousands of cameras. I've seen thousands of cameras. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. But this is one that I was like, oh, this will be perfect. Like this will be the camera. And it turns out that it worked great for a while, and then when I needed it to work, just in an everyday application, it decided it no longer wanted to do that. So I'm like, all right, sick, noise. It was also very expensive, more than I've spent on any other 35mm camera system, which is noise. Something I really appreciated. And there was more to it than that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the pictures I got, ultimately, I was like pretty happy with. Like it was a very beautiful time in my life because it gave me something to be excited about. And then I guess just kind of crashing down from that excitement to the reality that I'm not allowed to have nice things that work. And I think that kind of put a very negative twist on it for me personally. Made me kind of sad that it didn't work out. And I think I regret buying it because it was a lot of money and kind of a waste of time, and I don't know. What I will say though is that I am armed with the knowledge that that camera's not for me, and thus can use it to fuel my continued search to find a camera that is for me. So I guess for that reason I don't necessarily regret it as much. I think it's just the most recent like cataclysmic failure that I've experienced of something that I was like really stoked about, and for that I regret the initial purchase, or the excitement, the weight that I put on that camera for it to then arrive and let me down. So that's kind of my top 10 list of things that I regret. That I regret buying. But yeah, comment down below if you have cameras that you regretted buying. I would love to hear what they are. I'm sure I have more that I could probably think of, but this was just a quick and easy list. And it ended up having like 6 or 7. And I was like, well, that's kind of lame. So then I had to add a few to make it a 10. So that's kind of where the Pentax MZ-60 came up, because I'm like, I don't necessarily like massively regret it because it was only like $25 and the pictures I got out of it were pretty great. But now I'm trying to sell it and nobody wants to buy it, which I don't blame anybody, like, honestly. But it's just one of those things. I'm like, okay, great, I just bought more garbage to live in. So trying to get better about that, and yeah, trying to reconcile with the large collection of nightmares that I have garnered for myself in my little nightmare closet. But anyway, I think that will do it for now for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I definitely enjoyed reliving all of the nightmares. So, you know, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and make it all worthwhile. But anywho, that is all. Thank you very much. Catch you on the next one.